The stars burned like embers across the void, countless worlds trembling under the weight of war. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen in the time it took for one light to cross a single system. And yet, the galaxy itself seemed unyielding, indifferent to the suffering etched into its constellations. Every species had its dominion, every empire its ambition, and every fleet its weapon capable of erasing planets in an instant. The Karth Dominion ruled the inner spirals with fleets of crystalline dreadnoughts, their engines scarring the darkness as they tore through nebulae, consuming star systems in a relentless hunger for control. Their warriors, bred to perfection, moved with precision and cruelty, believing themselves invincible, blind to the shadows that stirred at the edge of reality. Further out, the Zir Confederacy siphoned the lifeblood of dying stars, harnessing their collapse to fuel weapons that could shatter moons with a single pulse. Their fleets moved like liquid death, weaving between the remnants of worlds, harvesting resources and expanding the reach of their dominion with a precision born from centuries of disciplined conquest. And the Vareshi, ancient and withdrawn, observed from the dark reaches their enormous black ships drifting in silence, storing secrets and power that no other species could comprehend. Waiting, always waiting, for the moment when their patience would bend the galaxy to their will. Amidst this turmoil, countless minor clans and nomadic factions carved their paths through the void, scavenging, raiding, or trading intelligence, their lives insignificant threads woven into a tapestry of chaos. And yet in every mind across this war-torn expanse, there was a shared arrogance, a belief that no force could challenge the summation of their fleets, the ingenuity of their minds, the might of their empires. They did not notice the tremor beneath the surface, the subtle vibrations that whispered across the void like the first notes of an unseen symphony. It began as a whisper, faint and fleeting, imperceptible to all but the most sensitive sensors. Ships detected anomalies in the hyperflux streams, slight distortions that did not conform to any known physics. Commanders dismissed them as interference, natural phenomena, nothing more. And yet the distortions spread, threading their way into every system, passing like ghostly fingers over planets and fleets alike. They carried no signature, no mass, no frequency, and yet they were unmistakably intentional, deliberate, alive with a purpose that defied comprehension. The first to report it were the scouts of the Karth Dominion, vessels smaller than the specks of dust that danced between stars. They spoke of a signal that pulsed with an intelligence they could not identify. "A ghost," one of the analysts muttered, his crystal visor reflecting the soft glow of distant suns. "A phantom in hyperspace." Even the Vareshi, masters of observation and manipulation, acknowledged the anomaly, though they claimed nothing, keeping their silence as their ships drifted poised, studying the subtle waves that bent reality itself. It was when the signal grew that fear became tangible. Not fear in the sense of danger, but a profound disquiet that reached into every mind it touched. It was not sound, not vibration, not energy, it was presence. It entered the neural patterns of every sentient being, threading through memory and instinct alike. Ships faltered, engines hesitated, and weapons misfired without explanation. Fleets that prided themselves on precision and control felt the ripple of hesitation, a pause that could not be rationalized. Across the spirals, across the empires, whispers spread faster than any message. Something was coming, something that no war, no empire, no fleet could contain. Some dared to speculate, some fell silent, paralyzed by instinct, and in the heart of the Seventh Spear, flagship of the coalition of minor systems attempting to survive between the warring giants, the crew felt it too. The hum of the hull, the vibrations of the quantum engines, the very sensors meant to dissect and analyze, it all faltered. Something unseen had entered their perception, threading into the core of their minds. Then the first glimpses arrived, not through sight but through resonance. Ships in the outer sectors reported disturbances, distortions, bending light and dark as though the void itself were sighing. Some swore they saw flashes of gold, fleeting shapes against the black canvas of space. Others spoke of shapes more impossible still, towering figures that moved without propulsion, impossible geometries that seemed to rewrite themselves as observers watched. The term human passed between them, whispered with incredulity, though no living human had been seen for millennia. Some laughed, some cried, many did not respond at all. Commanders issued orders to fire, to retreat, to hold formation, to activate every defensive measure. Yet every command faltered. Systems refused to respond. Shields shimmered and pulsed irregularly. Engines stuttered. Across the galaxy, the fleet commanders felt it. The realization that their weapons and minds were secondary to a presence they could not measure, a force that rendered centuries of conquest meaningless. And then it appeared in physical form, though its appearance defied logic. From the folds of hyperspace emerging with the inevitability of a collapsing star, it took shape. A ship vast beyond comprehension, shimmering with a golden light that seemed to absorb the darkness around it. It did not accelerate. It did not maneuver. It simply existed as though space itself had bowed to its presence. Its hull was etched with symbols that glowed with an intelligence older than any record. Symbols that conveyed meaning without language, that spoke directly to perception, to the primal awareness of all who looked upon it. The fleets froze, caught between awe and terror. The Karth, who had faced annihilation and survived, felt their confidence crumble. The Zir, accustomed to bending dying stars to their will, faltered, their siphoning engines failing inexplicably. Even the Varashi, whose silence had endured eons, allowed a ripple of unease to pass through their consciousness. Every ship, every mind, every sensor in the vicinity registered the same truth. This was not a vessel to be challenged. It was a verdict, and behind the shimmering hull a figure emerged, human in form, yet composed entirely of light, not flesh, not metal, not crystal, but pure energy, radiating a will that touched every mind, bending thought, bending comprehension, bending reality. It did not move toward them. It did not speak. It simply observed, and in its observation the galaxy seemed to pause, to inhale, to reconsider its place in existence. The realization struck with overwhelming clarity. Humanity had returned. Not as fragile mortals, not as explorers lost to time, but as something beyond myth, something beyond fear, something capable of standing above the violence that had consumed galaxies. Their return was not heralded by fire or conquest, but by presence. Presence that measured, judged, and held dominion over the mind itself. Ships turned instinctively away, engines struggling to respond, weapons locking in hesitation. Commanders, both alien and human in the distant past, found themselves kneeling before an authority they could neither name nor resist. It was not a threat, not yet. It was a declaration. The galaxy was no longer theirs to command. They were witnesses to a power that transcended war, intelligence, and even existence itself. The signal pulsed again, not through machines, but through consciousness. It was not a sound, not a vibration, not an energy wave. It was will. Pure, precise, unyielding will, imposed upon the galaxy with a certainty that was absolute. Every calculation, every strategy, every thought of dominance was rendered irrelevant. Every species, every fleet, every mind knew without question that the universe had changed, and still the figure stood. Still the light persisted. Still the golden ship hung in the void, immovable, inevitable, eternal. It did not attack. It did not retreat. It simply observed, teaching the galaxy its own insignificance, revealing the folly of arrogance, demonstrating that even in a cosmos of fire and conquest, there existed something that dwarfed all ambition, all violence, all thought. The galaxy trembled. The fleets trembled. Minds trembled. Stars, planets, civilizations, they all paused, suspended in the silent acknowledgement of a presence that demanded nothing but recognition. For the first time in eons, the war that had defined the spiral was irrelevant. For the first time in memory, all life was united by the same realization. They were not the masters of this galaxy. They were witnesses to a return that would redefine everything. Whispers began to spread. Not words, not signals, not transmissions, but impressions. Visions of worlds untainted by war. Civilizations that endured without conquest. Stars that burned without consumption. And the humans, these beings of light, offered no explanation, no instruction, no promise. Only observation, only judgment, only presence. The fleets, so long trained to destroy, to conquer, to dominate, faltered in awe. Time itself seemed hesitant, bending under the scrutiny of a force that needed no weapon, no language, no argument. Their minds reeled under the weight of understanding, comprehending in fragments what could not be fully known. The humans had returned, and with them came the realization that nothing, not the most powerful fleet, not the oldest empire, not the cleverest mind, could stand untouched.